This is the all-new WICR. We're now on Live 365 and Ustream.com. Just search WICR and like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/WICR Iona College Radio.
From the basement of La Penta, this is your host, The Rock is on this Monday, March 27th, 2017. We have a lot to get to today. We got some Final Four previews. The Final Four is set, though. We'll talk a little baseball, but in terms of predictions, we're going to do that next week in honor of Opening Day, because Opening Day is exactly 1 week from today. But before we dive right into the Final Four, though, which was the biggest, or preview the Final Four, which is the biggest event in the coming week, we got to talk about what happened today with the breaking news. And of course, for those of you who didn't know, it's a sad day in Oakland, California. The Oakland Raiders are officially moving to Las Vegas, so they are now known as the Las Vegas Raiders. And man, I'm telling you, this was an atrocious move. The owners approved it, approved the vote, 31-1. The lone owner that disagreed with the move and wasn't for it, the Raiders going to Vegas, was Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, and he said, as owners, yes, it's a business though, we got to make money though, but at the same time, we want to have a dedication and a loyalty to our fans, and because they're the ones that support the team, throughout the year, throughout the season, and you know what, I salute Stephen Ross for that, because a lot of owners really just don't care about the fans who spend their hard-earned money going to the games, paying for the PSLs, paying for season tickets, and seeing the team win, lose, draw, rain, shine, snow, worst conditions we can possibly think of. But it is what it is, and now we're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders, and this will be the third move since beginning of last year, really, because you had both the Rams and the Chargers moving to Los Angeles, and now you have the Raiders moving to Vegas. And the owner of the Raiders, Mark Davis, the son of the late Al Davis, who started the Raiders, or who formed the Raiders, he said, quote, "The Raiders were born in Oakland, and Oakland will always be a part of our DNA." But that's kind of like saying, hey, we understand you guys are upset. We understand that you guys aren't going to have a football team in the Oakland community, but we have bigger aspirations, and we're on to bigger and better things, supposedly. And you know what, man? I honestly disagree with this move. 1,000% disagree with this move, on a myriad of reasons why. And and you look at the vote, 31-1, and the owners approve this. If I'm an NFL, and that baffles me, and because if I'm an NFL owner, I wouldn't want my team going in Vegas or playing in Vegas. Because one, it's a distraction, and two, it can cause a variety of problems. You got to worry about them going to the Vegas Strip, getting drunk, or going to the bars and then doing something stupid and asinine, or they may play some bets though, and which probably was a reason why the owners approved it, because within a decade or so, sports gambling could be legal. I mean, it's legal in Vegas, but in terms of throughout the country, it's going to be legal. So that's one thing, probably why the owners approved it. But seriously, if I'm an NFL owner, if I'm an owner of an NFL franchise, I would not want my team even remotely close to Vegas. At least during the season. In the off season, when the season's not in session, then they can go and do whatever the hell they want. But in season, though, it's a major distraction, an absolutely major distraction. Because I listed things of what you got to be worried about, what your players are going to do. They might do something stupid, get out of hand, whatnot. And also, it's like Vegas. I understand it's a popular city, it's a tourist attraction in the country, but it's like, where are you going to get all these people from to go to the games? I'm like, do you really expect people are going to fly to Vegas just to see a football game every weekend or every other weekend? Like, really? because Vegas, if you didn't know, folks, I'd never been to Vegas, but I looked into it. Vegas, it's like you have the city, you have the limelight, but then like you go on the outside of Vegas, it's just a desert. Like literally, Las Vegas is literally in the middle of nowhere. And you expect a team or players to be suited in Vegas? And there's not a lot of people that live in Vegas or on the outskirts of Vegas. It's Nevada. You're in western or southern West Nevada. Man, I'm telling you, this is going to be an utter disaster for the NFL, and I hope it is, because the owners, this is just a prime example. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about loyalty, dedication, giving back. They don't. They just want to make an honest buck, and they figured, hey, Vegas is going to build a stadium. They're going to provide the money. We'll go wherever the money goes. And honestly, you want to make money. Yes, it's a business, but also you got to have some loyalty to the fans. Some people who are diehards, especially the diehards, because this is the second time this Raider franchise moved. Because in the late 80s, they moved from Oakland to Los Angeles, and then and they spent about a decade and a half in LA. Had some good moments there. But then the team fizzled out late in the stretch, and then they moved back to Oakland in 1995. And they've been in Oakland for the last 2 decades, just about, and now they're moving to Vegas. And like I said, I really hope that this experiment, moving the Raiders to Vegas, just implodes and just becomes an utter disaster, and that the owners just say, oh crap, this wasn't a good idea. I mean, what makes you think moving to Vegas is a great idea? It's not. There should be honestly, all kidding aside, there should be no professional teams in Vegas. None whatsoever. And because you're going to have apparently you're going to have an NHL team. The NHL is expanding. They're going to have a team there within the next 5 years. And now you're going to have a football team. But still, it's like, if you think Vegas, it's a tourist site, yes. A lot of people go there, but in terms of like drawing fans to go to the games, I really don't think people are going to fly to Vegas just to see a football game. I mean, you really expect people are going to fly to Vegas during the fall and the winter just to see a football game? People are going to go to Vegas. People go to Vegas like in the spring or the summertime. Unless you get a lot of people who are Raider fans from, like, say, California, Arizona, or maybe even Colorado, to fly out to Vegas every other weekend, who are willing to do it. But it's also going to be it's going to be very pricey, because you throw in the fact that you got to stay for the hotel room, you got to pay for the hotel room, the flight, the tickets, and then also it's like, is there going to be any tailgating there? Because you had that in Oakland with tailgating. You may not even have tailgating in Vegas. The stadium may just be in the center, or be in the city though, where it's like no tailgating at all, and it's going to be an absolute mess with traffic and whatnot. And honestly, I think this move to Vegas for the Raiders is going to be a much bigger disaster than when the Rams moved to St. Louis and the Chargers moved from San Diego, and you're going to have 2 teams in LA. Which I didn't agree with those moves at all, because Roger Goodell had absolutely no intention of keeping the Rams in St. Louis whatsoever. And my thought was, you know what? If St. Louis fans, they're very passionate. Granted, it's a baseball town. They're all for the Cardinals. It's with their history and their tradition there. But if they put a better product on the field, and if the Rams were somewhat decent, I think people would support a football product. I think they would support a product there. I think people in St. Louis can support football. But St. Louis had an idea, had an idea. They were going to build a stadium just right off the Mississippi River, north of the city. It was still somewhat in the heart of St. Louis, but just a little north in the city. off, I believe, the Martin Luther King Bridge, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a state-of-the-art stadium, though. It had the amenities that these current NFL stadiums had, but Goodell gives the BS answer. Oh, it lacks this, it lacks that, and and they, for some strange reason, it's like they said, oh, we tried, but nothing we can do. Please. They wanted to move the Rams to LA. And then it's with the Chargers. The Chargers. How the hell do you move the San Diego Chargers from San Diego? And what's baffling about that move with Dean Spanos is that it cost the Chargers more to move from San Diego to LA than paying for a stadium in San Diego. Because you know what? San Diego, the city, I feel bad for them. They lost a football team. They lost their team. But kudos to the citizens of San Diego, or the San Diego committee, for not pulling money out of their you-know-what just to support these greedy owners. They took a stand. Granted, they lost their team, but they took a stand, and that's something you got to keep in mind. You got to salute and applaud for. It's ridiculous. These owners they make a lot of money, because most of these guys are businessmen. They make a lot of money. So it's like, you need to tell me they can't cough up a few million, and pay for a stadium or help pay for a stadium. And then they say, oh, we tried our best. We wanted to stay, but we couldn't. It wasn't in the cards. Please. They just didn't want to pay for it. They don't want to. People don't want to pay for stuff coming out of their pocket. They want money that's given to them. And it's not fair for the cities who, have to pay their firemen, have to pay their policemen, their teachers, and whatnot. Because some cities, unfortunately, they can't pay their first responders or other occupants of that nature. They can't. And yet you expect them to cough up a few million or cough up millions just so they can, to the owners of these NFL franchises, so they can build a stadium? No. And honestly, that's another move. Moving two teams to LA, I hope that move fails drastically, because LA fans are fickle. They'll only support the team if they're winning. And you saw it this past year with the Rams. They weren't winning. They started to do bad. Nobody was showing up to the Coliseum for the games. The stadium was practically empty. And what's baffling to me is that for so many years, people were saying people never wanted to go to LA. They were avoiding it. Kind of evading the fact or the idea of putting a team in LA. Now all of a sudden, it's like everyone wants to go there. Why? And to be honest with you, they don't even need in my opinion, they don't even need professional football. I mean, you got USC, which is a Pac-10 powerhouse, and then UCLA, who could be good at times at football, but they're more with basketball. And then you have the Lakers, you have the Clippers, you have the Dodgers, the Angels, the Kings. It's like, do you really need two professional football teams? I think the only team that would have made sense to go back there was the Raiders, because there's a lot of Raider fans in LA, but I'd see any other team, I couldn't see it. And honestly, people from San Diego aren't going to move, or not going to commute to, or not commute, but like travel all the way to LA just to see the Chargers. They're not. They're not driving 2 hours up I-5 to see a football game. It's not happening. Besides, San Diego and LA are rivals, so. But it's, let's just see what, and it's just. Let's just see what happens, see how it goes. But I think having two LA teams and a team in Vegas, it's going to be a complete and utter disaster, and it will not work out. I will guarantee you that will be a complete mess. And I just hope it implodes and that both Goodell and the owners realize it was a terrible, absolutely terrible decision. And that concludes this segment.